It's a tough week. I think Salah pulled people out of a tight hole. But how do you turn it around if you had a difficult one in game week 5? Where do you guys see the value? NVD, I'm going to go to you first because early kickoff is Everton versus Liverpool. Is there any value in that game?
Yeah, Merseyside derby. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's going to be a high-scoring game. I have a 3-3 draw written against it, but definitely I feel both teams are going to concede. Players are you going to look at? I think, look, Mane's coming back from COVID. He's been isolating for, 14 days. Who knows what's that going to impact just on a little bit of sharpness and fitness. And who knows how severe his symptoms were. But him and Thiago are coming back. I think they've been training this week. So I think, remains to be seen. Maybe kind of keep that transfer stored up until the very last minute if you want to transfer him in or out. Salah, he was probably the best player, hands down, for Liverpool in an awful Liverpool team, to be honest, against Villa. So, look to him for the points. I think, points are going to be more so with the midfielders and attackers on both sides. And, with that in mind, I do see Calvert-Lewin. People ask if the goals are going to dry up. Doesn't look to be. Scored midweek, or rather on the weekend for England. I fancy him scoring. Richarlison, I feel, is going to score as well, more so than Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez always up there with the assists. Richarlison likes scoring against us. He's just kind of, he's one of those players.
So Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison? That was a question we had on Twitter from Michael Bradbury.
I'm going to go Richarlison.
Oh, I'd definitely be DCL. I'm a big fan. I think DCL is just more clinical. He's more of he'll get tap-ins from 6 yards, right? But
he's on form, isn't he? Okay, perfect. Thanks, NVD. I think a very valid point there. You said Salah over Mane. Mane has just come back from the COVID, but a very valid point. Keep your transfer perhaps until, your free transfer until Friday because of this COVID situation. Okay, the next game, we've got Chelsea versus Southampton. Ricky Pellegrini, you were looking at this game for us. Do you see a clean sheet for either of these teams?
It's going to be a tricky game for both, I think. Both have started somewhat well. Southampton looking good, look like a different team to last year, and I don't think they're going to have the same struggles. I think Danny Ings, you can't really look any further than him. Doesn't matter if he's playing the top teams or the bottom teams, he always gets on the score sheet. He's obviously on penalties as well, and we know how important that is this season as well. The player for Chelsea I would shout out is Chilwell. He had a great game, scoring 18 points in the last game week. He has risen in price up to 5.6 from 5.5 now. But just, with any of these attacking wing backs, that you could get the double whammy of attacking returns as well as if they do happen to get a clean sheet. I think he is going to be number one choice in that left back ahead of Alonso. So I would definitely go for Chilwell. Mason Mount as well. Coming off of a really good England performance, I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch, to be honest. Mm-hmm. He's in that nice 6.97 million bracket. He will be competing with Grealish, who I know a lot of people will be getting into their teams. But Mason Mount for Chelsea, I think he will start getting some attacking returns as well. I'm saying 2-1 to Chelsea.
Yeah.
But Danny Ings, don't look any further than him. 8.5, you can't really argue with that.
So Ings for Southampton. Chelsea, are you seeing Mount with the goal?
I reckon Mason Mount. I actually think Abraham, because he looks like he's going to be staying in that position. I think everyone's forgotten about Werner now. I think Abraham will be playing that lone striker role. I think Werner will go on to the left wing now. So Abraham, 7.3 million, again, not too expensive to be in your side, playing for arguably one of the top teams in the Premier League.
And you call out on Mason Mount, though. I mean, he didn't play against Palace. Was he injured against Palace?
He wasn't injured, no. He just started on the bench. That's all, yeah.
Two quick questions on the Chelsea. Havertz, what do you think of Havertz? He got 2 assists midweek for Germany and he's looked okay recently.
He does. He's the same kind of bracket as Werner, though, right? Because they just haven't really done it yet. It's only 4 games in, but I wouldn't be banking on them in my FPL team until they really start proving it. It's just going to take a while. It might take half a season before they really start showing everyone what they're made. They're obviously good players. But
I quite like FPL, mate. I think, he got an assist in the last game and an assist in the one before. He's got 6 points and 5 points respectively. But it does bring me on to a question that came in from one of our Twitter fans. And you've touched on this already. But Lord Lampard 211 on Twitter said, do you think Werner will come good?
I think he will. He's obviously a world-class class player, right? You can see, when he plays against these teams who've got playing a high line, he's very quick, gets behind the defence. But against the Burnleys, against even against West Ham, something like that, I don't think he's gonna do it as much just yet. Again, Chelsea just needs to gel. They need some more time. I think we're going to see the real Chelsea, another few game weeks at least before we really see it.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Ricky Pellegrini. There you go, listeners. That is Chelsea Southampton and where the value is. Next game of the weekend, Man City versus Arsenal. Captain Russ, I believe you had a little look at this. Any value there? Any clean sheets?
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? I mean, obviously Man City, they got flop of the week last week and, they're not performing as well as we all expect them to perform. But saying that, we're all saying about De Bruyne and how he's not come up trumps, but he's still got 17 points this season, which is not bad. But yeah, I mean, I was looking at Arsenal as well. You got Willian, he's not bad. If I was going to put any money on any of the Arsenal players, maybe Lacazette, he's the highest FPL point scorer at the moment with 21. Even the goalkeeper's not doing too bad. He's got 14 points, which is pretty good compared to Ederson's 6. It might be worth a shout if you're looking at maybe getting another keeper in.
But who do you think is going to win this game, Captain?
Do you think Man City will come up trumps in this game? I think I think Arsenal will score. I think it's not going to be a whitewash or but it will be a development game for Man City. So I reckon they will win. They'll win 2-1.
And a question that's come in actually on Twitter here from Sam Speaks 7. He wanted to know, when do we get Aguero in?
When he starts playing.
Solid answer, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know whether he's...
Not before then. Yeah, I mean, exactly. He's in until the 1st of October.
Right, there you go.
Okay, so you're seeing 2-1 to City. Are you seeing both goals from Kevin De Bruyne? Is that what you're saying?
I can see possibly one. But I don't know where the other one's going to... It's just not quality. There's no quality there at the moment. There's no...
But they're going to get 2.
They will get 2. I don't know how.
2 own goals.
Ake, maybe Ake get a goal from the back.
De Bruyne and Ake then, captains, calling out listeners. From there, we go on to the 4th game of the weekend, Newcastle versus Manchester United. This is my beloved United. Not impressed so far this season. I've got to say, this is a tough one for me to see any value in. United have scored 5 goals this season. Newcastle have scored 6. Newcastle have let in 5. Man United have let in, embarrassingly, 11. 6 of those in the last game. So we do need a little bit of a bounce back. Rashford was on form for England, albeit a penalty. Probably another penalty, right, lads? I mean, we're good at getting penalties. But I just don't see a lot of value in this game. It's one of those that I'd steer clear of. At the most, it's going to be maybe 2 goals for United, 3 at the most if we're lucky and we're not playing well enough. So I would be more in the realm of saying Newcastle might even sneak it 1-0 or 2-0. Callum Wilson's been looking okay.
I think so.
Of late. And last year we actually lost this game, didn't we? Old Longstaff, the Ginger Paul Scholes lookalike who scored for Newcastle. They won it 1-0. And being at Newcastle, it's a very tough game for Manchester United. So listeners, for me, stick clear of this game.
Would you be keeping hold of Callum Wilson, Jimmy? If you've got him in your team, I know he started well. 34 points, one of the top strikers so far. Would you stick with him?
He's gone up in price as well, so a lot of people are jumping on the Wilson bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, what's he up at now, price wise?
He's 6.5.
6.5. I mean, it's not a bad price, and he's going to play all the games, and he is the penalty taker. I think it's a toss-up, really, in terms of that price range between him, Morpay, for Brighton. And Antonio's, I mean, they've got a tough schedule, but Antonio's about the same price. And then you've got Ollie Watkins and Bamford as well, right?
6.5 is such a great price, though, for someone that's been getting them in the back of the net at the moment. And I think with Callum Wilson, I think last season he kind of went a bit flat, but the season before you'd see what he does with Bournemouth. Yeah, this could be his season.
I do think he's worth it out of all those we've just listed. I think the only problem I'd say there is that they have got Man United, Wolves and then Everton, who are teams that are tough. You would have thought.
I'm not sure about Wolves, mate. I don't think that would be that hard.
I think you put Wolves down at your own peril because they've had a very bad start to the season, but they're a quality team, and they'll turn it around. But Newcastle have scored 6 goals this season. Wilson's got 4 of those. If they're going to score, it's coming through Wilson.
Yeah.
So I would say Wilson. Yeah.
And how many goals have Wolves scored this season? Out of interest.
They've knocked in only 4 goals.
Right.
Compared to 6 from Newcastle.
What about Fernandes then, Jimmy? Tell us, there's only 20% ownership at the moment. Is he going to do it? Is he going to, set the Premier League alight again this season?
It could be the second season syndrome, couldn't it? I mean, United, for me, we got Chelsea after this, then we've got Arsenal, then we've got Everton. It's a tricky run. Fernandes needs to turn it on or else we are in a lot of trouble. But it is almost like, he's had that honeymoon period. Now is where he's got to show us who he is and that he can do it. And we're not seeing that from the early games, mate. So I'm not convinced by Fernandes. I wouldn't personally have him in my team right now until he starts showing a bit of form. I feel there's better players out there. So again, for me, this game, Newcastle United, I'd be steering clear. With that said, many people out there, you might disagree with me, lads. You might, but that's where I'm coming from. I'm going into the Sunday games. We've got Sheffield United versus Fulham. Does anyone see some value there?
Not really. What I saw Fulham the other week was just basically it was like almost watching Sunday football. Like they were just looking for their one forward that can score, and they were just hoofing up the field. It was just not very.
This is 19th against 20th. So
what happened to Sheffield United this season, though?
They've scored 1 goal all season.
Yeah, second year syndrome again, and it, like you say, second season. But Sheffield United struggle. I don't think they're going to do very well. Just early signs that they're not replicating what they did last year. But like you said, MVD Mitrovic, we still can't really ignore him. He's all right. It's only 17 points in the opening few games, but he's out of these 2 teams. If anyone's going to score you some points, it's going to be him, surely, right?
Yeah, I think with Sheffield United, on top of obviously being in dismal form as well, facing a few squad problems as well. What with COVID and just injuries, I think Egan is definitely out, and I can't remember.
It's a scrappy game, right?
Yeah, I think
It already feels like it may be a bit early to say this. And Captain, when you were saying Wolves, I feel maybe it's early to write teams off. But Sheffield United and Fulham, it feels like a relegation scrap already, like this early.
Yeah.
Ollie Burke is a Sheffield United player who's midfielder on the game, 4.5 million, plays up front. I mean, someone's got to win this game, haven't they? No.
Well,
no
doesn't have to win. It could be a 0-0 draw.
It's going to be the worst game ever.
Scottish, right? So I'll take him. Why not?
We're going to avoid it completely. We don't think Sheffield United or Fulham there's much value. Palace versus Brighton. Similar potentially, right? I mean, 5 goals from Palace, 8 from Brighton. Zaha, maybe.
Brighton do look a better side, don't they, this year? I think they are playing a lot more attacking football than they were last season. Last season, they were just scoring from set pieces mostly. But this season, I think with Lallana in the side, that Trossard, I think he's a brilliant player, that Trossard. I think he could probably get in a lot of teams in the Premier League, in my opinion. I think he's very talented. So I can see Brighton doing well in this game. Even though Crystal Palace is solid at home, it's going to be a cagey affair, but I see Brighton and Morpay. We've got to mention Morpay, 6.6 million. He could be one of those. We were talking about that kind of low-cost striker. He could be one that we're all going to want to get in a few weeks' time if he keeps scoring the way he does.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, him and Wilson are the 2 that I'd be looking at that cheap rate, the cheaper end. Do you think Zaha, the price that he is at, though, the only reason I do want to harp on about this guy is because he's in and out, right? But this could be a game where he could do it with him.
So Zaha's got 26 points, right? He's in 20% of teams. You've got Townsend, who's only really 2 points behind him, right? He had a poor last game week.